Hey guys, it's The Lounge. We're back for another week, Fairfield University's NFL Sports Radio Show.
Hi, this is Chase Castle here again with this week's of The Lounge. We got Connor Gleason again for the third time.
2 weeks in a row now. I'm starting to feel a little comfortable here.
Well, we like having you, and we think the people like listening to you, so.
Glad to hear.
All right, so let's start off with the Monday Night Football game. Probably the most impressive game, and not an upset, but I picked the Panthers to win, but definitely an even shot with this one, and it could have gone either way, but the Panthers end up coming out on top.
Yeah, I picked the Panthers as well. They were hot. The Pats, not that they were doing bad, obviously, but I just liked what the Panthers were doing. Their defense proved a lot playing against the 49ers, and they came into this game strong, and they ended up winning. There might have been a controversial call at the end, but I still think that they played better than the Pats overall. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, they did. As a Pats fan, it's tough to see this happen, but the Panthers played a really good game. What I was very surprised at is that they came out attacking. Their first couple plays, they were throwing right at our best cornerback, Aqib Talib, and they basically wanted to show the Pats that they were here to play. They weren't going to back down. They knew they were playing the Patriots and all, but it didn't seem like they cared at all. They came in like they were going to win this game.
Yeah, you look at Steve Smith early on in the game.
Absolutely.
Gotten a few little fights, I guess, with Aqib Talib.
A little bit.
Looks like there's a bit of a rivalry forming between them. Sort of like seeing that.
Well, I don't know if you'll call it a rivalry because these guys won't see each other for maybe 4 years, and who knows if Steve Smith's even in the league then. But I didn't like how Talib acted. That's not the Patriots' way that we've come to know. And, it was supposed to be a big day for him. He's finally back from injury, and the last time we saw him, I believe, was when the Patriots played the Saints.
Jimmy Graham, yeah.
Yeah, he shut down Jimmy Graham, and so I thought for sure Steve Smith wasn't going to be able to beat him. But he showed up, Steve Smith, and Talib even got benched after that boneheaded penalty play he did.
Oh, yeah, and I absolutely saw that coming. When anyone on the Patriots makes a dumb penalty or gets into a scuffle, the first thing that's going to happen is Belichick's going to bench him. That's classic history of the Patriots. No one's going to get into a fight like that, and Belichick's going to be like, okay, you're fine. Go out and play some more. That just never happens.
Well, you saw even with Ridley, another fumble this week, and then he sat out for 2 quarters, and that's going to be a big problem going forward if they don't have him securing the ball because he has fumble problems. Even though Vereen's back, they need him to be at the top of his game. They can't be driving down the field and lose the ball because he has bad hands.
Yeah, I was surprised Belichick even put Ridley back in after that. I was watching it with some Pats fans, including you and Connor, and I heard them saying, yeah, I'd be surprised if he even comes back in the next year because he's had problems with it. But if you look at the stats for this game, neither team, no numbers really blew you out of the water. Newton had an okay game, 19 for 28, roughly 200 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, but it's not like he was playing amazing.
Yeah, the one stat that stands out to me as a Patriots fan is the Patriots had 2 turnovers and the Panthers had 0. I want to say the past something ridiculous, 10 years, the Patriots have always come up on top of, they always have positive turnovers. Their defense always finds a way to take away the ball. And it's weird that we had more turnovers than the other team. That very rarely happens. And, pretty much for the Patriots, if that happens to them, it's almost like a guaranteed loss.
Well, this Carolina defense after this game of the Patriots, in my opinion, and I think the stats with this back this up, I think the Carolina defense is now the number 1 D in the league over the Chiefs. They're first in points given up after the Chiefs gave up 27 to the Broncos, and they're now 3rd in yards, and the Chiefs are only 12th in yards. And that's big for me, and I think this Panthers D is really coming along. But how about Cam Newton on the offensive side? Throughout the game, great decisions. He had that huge 70-yard net run, gross run, which only ended up being 14 net. But that he got by about 4 Patriots defenders who should have been able to sack him, and he just creates plays, and he's really becoming a great quarterback in this league.
Absolutely, and actually, I kind of want to focus back on the defense a little bit. The front 7 for the Carolina Panthers right now is unbelievable. I forget the guy who got the Gruden grinder for their other linebacker. I forget his name right now, but he got the Gruden Grinder Award. And
was it Davis?
Yeah, I think it was Davis. He had 17 tackles. he was all over the field. And the thing that surprised me greatly is that at the very end, they were able to rush 4 and still get to Tom Brady. They just released the pass rushers, and they were doing all they could to get to him, and they were getting to him. And teams that can do that, you're going to go far if your pass rushers can get to the quarterback no matter what.
That's what defenses are coming to in the league now. It's not like you want a good cornerback, but it's really coming to how fast you can get to the quarterback, because with all these new rules and how much they're giving, granted they're giving the quarterback a lot of leeway with things, like in terms of getting hit. But at the same time, cornerbacks can't be as tough, they can't be as rough as they used to be. So you just got to find a way to get to the quarterback, because a cornerback doesn't have as much, can't do a lot of things that he used to be able to. So you look at teams like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Panthers. Both of them have good front sevens, and that's where they're getting it done.
Well, I like your conversation about the defense, but I was still impressed with the Carolina offense. I brought up Cam Newton, but how about him spreading the ball around? He had 3 guys who caught touchdowns, and not one of them was named Steve Smith, and Newton made the big throws when it came down to it. You had Brandon LaFell, Greg Olsen, and Ted Ginn Jr. all with a touchdown. That was huge in the game, and great catches too, great throws and great catches.
Absolutely. And that's going to happen when you're Cam Newton and you can. He had this the 70 gross yard run. When you can do that as Cam Newton and open the play more, make the play longer and longer, the cornerbacks are not going to be able to stand the wide receivers at all. They're going to have to break away. The wide receivers are going to find open space, and no matter who you are as a wide receiver or cornerback, the wide receiver is going to get open, and it makes the throws a lot easier for Cam Newton.
And I think this win is a lot for Cam Newton, not just the 49ers game, but I see him as a quarterback. He's had a little bit of struggles maintaining his posture after NFL games, losing some big ones. And we've seen him come out of losses and he just looks depressed and just not happy. However, I feel like at the same time, having these wins is just going to give him a lot more confidence. He's just going to get better as time goes on. And I think we're going to be able. This isn't even going to be his best game for him this year. I feel like he's going to come out and have some really spectacular games in the future.
Well, real quick before we end our conversation about this game, we can't not talk about that play at the end. What are your guys' thoughts on it? At first glance, I thought it was the correct call. I didn't think it was a catchable ball, but as I'm seeing the replays again, it looked like maybe Gronk would have been able to catch it. But he didn't really do anything to try to get to it. He kind of just stood there and let the play happen, and you got to at least try to sell it.
Yeah, but that's where I start to have a little issue with this argument, because everyone's saying, hey, if he tried to make this look like he was trying to get to the ball, if he tried to embellish it a little bit, then maybe they would have agreed with the flag that was thrown. But now you're encouraging flopping in the game of football, and that's what I don't want to see. As a fan watching the game, I don't want to see a wide receiver run into the middle of the field, the cornerback taps him, and then he falls over, and then you get a 15-yard penalty just because he was flopping. That's something I don't want to see. But I do think I think that call, he threw the flag, he saw what happened. The ball had a lot more velocity than most people thought. The ball it wasn't going to go to Gronk's feet. It would have made it to Gronk's at least hip. When I don't know, I feel like Gronk could have made a play on that if Kuechly wasn't all over him.
I feel like there's 2 sides to the argument. I feel like in a way they did make the correct call, because I feel even after watching the film again, I feel like whoever intercepted the ball would have gotten there before it would have gotten to Gronk. And I don't think Gronk, I don't even think it would have been a flop for him to try to get to the ball, because at least he would have been trying to get the guy who intercepted it out of the way. And that didn't happen. And I feel like the refs threw that, but then they said, look, the guy intercepted the ball. If he didn't intercept the ball, you throw the flag, you call the penalty. But the guy intercepted the ball. I think regardless of if he was pushed out of the way or not, it would have been intercepted and that would have been game. And so I think the refs made the right call in this decision. I know it might have been pass interference, but I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the play.
So all in all, a great game for the Panthers, and they've now had back-to-back huge wins, and this is setting up to be a showdown between them and the Saints, who still have to play each other twice this year. But let's talk about the Saints. They just beat the 49ers. Again, a game with another questionable call with the hit on Breeze, which was fumbled but then called because of the ref said forearm to the neck. But I don't agree with that, and I don't agree with any 49er fan who justifies that as why they lost, because there were a lot of plays that kept the Niners in this game where they shouldn't have. There was a drop punt about 10 yards out of the end zone by the Saints where the Niners were able to punch it in. There was an interception by the Saints that should have been a pick six, but the guy threw it into the end zone somehow, and it was just called a touchback. There was a call at the end of the game where it should have been a safety on Kaepernick, and they didn't call that, so that was a missed call there. And also, the Saints won the game because they kicked 3 straight field goals. And if you're the 49ers, you need to be able to manage the clock. Their last 2 drives, they weren't even able to get a first down, and to me, that's why they lost the game. It wasn't because of a call on Drew Brees. Even though he is, and the guy is getting fined because of it, I don't think it was the right call, but that's not why the Niners lost this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners defense is showing what they can do. They've always been a defensive team. They held the Saints to 23 points. 3 straight field goals at the end of the game. Drew Brees couldn't really throw the ball all over him. And then they give the ball to their offense, and it's kind of sad. Kaepernick, 17 for 31, 127 yards. I mean, that's not an NFL quarterback. He needs to step up his game somehow. I mean, he had maybe he was lucky last year. Maybe he's not an NFL quarterback. Maybe he's having a sophomore slump right now. But
it's his junior year.
Junior year, technically, yeah.
I consider him a sophomore.
Yeah, I consider him a sophomore, so that's why I said that. But, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. He needs to do. There's something that's just not there with him, and he needs to bring up his stats if he's gonna, bring this team anywhere.
Yeah, he hasn't had any defining games this year. He hasn't looked like he was last year, where he had these explosive games where I remember in the playoffs where they just ran over the Packers. You haven't seen that from the 49ers. This team just hasn't been scoring touchdowns through the air or on the ground. It's just the offense hasn't gone anywhere. Their defense has been playing great, and they've proven themselves, but their offense hasn't been what it was last year. Bolden, their acquisition, hasn't really stepped up like they thought they would. Obviously, the loss of Crabtree hurts them, but they need to find something to get this offense moving, or the playoffs could be in question if they keep playing this bad.
Yeah, Kaepernick only has 11 touchdowns and 7 interceptions this year, and he's had one game where he threw over 250 yards. That was week 1 against the Packers where he threw over 400. But other than that, it's kind of been, for me, a disappointment this year. You look at the other quarterbacks, not RG3, but Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson, who he was compared to last year, and they're having great seasons, I think.
To switch sides, you got to look at the Saints also. It's a testament to how good they are. They came out, they destroyed the Cowboys. They cracked down on the 49ers. It's just this team is looking great. They are comparable to the Broncos at this point. If you look at all the weapons they have, Meacham, Bolden, they have Sproles in the backfield. It's hard to you can't just have one good guy, one good cover corner expecting to shut down the team, because he's not. There's so many options for Brees to throw to. Graham, I didn't even include him. He's probably the best receiver they have. It's just they're a dangerous team, and it is a testament to the 49ers D, again, keeping them only to 23 points.
Yeah, I know, but I made that comparison last week, actually, when I said the Saints are starting to look like the Broncos now. A lot of dumb passes out of the backfield. They got a lot of good receivers coming around. And I think it was Coleman who said they don't really have the wide receivers that match up with the Broncos, which is kind of true. But at the same time, they do have, receivers that will catch the ball. I mean, you don't see Saints over left and right dropping balls, Jimmy Graham got great hands. Marquise Colston has great hands. Kenny Stills is coming around.
Well, I think part of it is that it's the Saints. Their receivers have never been looked at as big primetime receivers. But in reality, I think they are.
Absolutely.
And Coulson, they're both very good receivers. It's just they don't have the big names that a lot of these other teams do. They might not have as many explosive games, but they're very consistent. In every game, that they're doing well.
Well, Chase, you said that the Saints are comparable to the Broncos. I don't think the Saints are on the same level as the Broncos offensively yet. I think they're getting there. They're now second in the league in on the offensive side in points and yards, only second to the Broncos. And I think they're on their way. They've had 2 very close losses that could have been wins and probably should have been wins against the Patriots and Jets. And their defense is now coming a long way. I know a lot of people don't think it's that great, but if you look at the stats, it says it. 5th in points and 4th in yards. The Broncos don't have anything to compare with that. So on the offensive side, the Saints don't match up with the Broncos, but on a whole team effort, I think they're very close, and it could be a Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, I could definitely see this as a Super Bowl matchup. I think they're both favored. But I don't think they're as good as the Broncos. I think they're close, but they are second.
Well, I'm not trying to call you out here. Did you say they were second in points and yards to the Broncos?
Yes.
And you don't think they're comparable?
No, I don't think they're comparable on the offensive side. I think the Broncos are a step above them, even though they're second. They're not a close second. That's what I'm saying. But as a whole team, they are comparable because of the defensive side. Yes, they are second to the Broncos, but it's not like they're like averaging 1 point less and 5 yards less. But while we're talking about the Broncos, let's head to their game with the. They played the Chiefs. This was the big matchup this week against in the AFC West. It was going to decide it for now. The Broncos took that game. It showed for me that the Chiefs aren't what everyone thought. Yes, they're good, and it was good to see that the game was close and the Chiefs had their chance to win. But I didn't think they were ever going to win. What do you guys think on that one?
I mean, yeah. When I first started watching this game, I was excited. You know, it's two good teams going at it, but I really never had the feeling that the Chiefs were going to win this game. You know, there was never a point in the game where they had a ton of momentum. You know, like they were going to turn it around. It seemed like the whole time the Broncos had control. They were moving the ball, and they were stopping the Chiefs on defense. And if the Chiefs weren't going to score 20-something points, they just weren't going to win the game. It was a fact.
Well, I think it's the Chiefs. Their offense just can't do anything. It's just stale. It's just like it's not. They just don't have anything produced on offense. They have a good rushing attack. That's about it. And like Denver gave them plenty of chances, and they just couldn't take hold and taking advantage of it. Their defense, granted, they didn't get to Peyton Manning, which they wanted to. Denver's offensive line played great.
Yeah, well, when you're leading the league in sacks, I expected that front line to get to Payne, even though he was injured.
Yeah, no, so did I. But the fact that they held him to 27 points, still, that's crazy. So the fact that the offense
crazy good, right?
Crazy good.
Yeah, I want to say the Broncos are averaging 40 points a game, and the Saints are only averaging 28, which is why I think they're on another level than the Saints offensively. But the Chiefs D only let them put up 27. And that's big for me. But it's also weird because the Chiefs only averaged 12 points defensively coming in. So it's kind of a win-lose. You doubled your points that you usually give up, but you also knocked off the Broncos by 12. So it's kind of a win-win or a win-lose, I guess. I don't know how you'd phrase it. But this Chiefs D is good. They didn't play amazing against the Broncos. They played good enough to win. I think D'Angelo Hall just blew by one of the balls that he could have returned for pick six.
D'Angelo Hall?
Maybe it's not him. I'll look it up. Hold on.
Yeah, no, there was another player on the Chiefs that almost had a pick six. Mm-hmm. But I want to kind of focus here on the offensive line of the Broncos. You know, the offensive line that no one ever talks about. But they were getting criticized greatly by the media, saying, you know, Peyton Manning's getting hit left and right. You know, that's why his ankles are so sore. He's getting kind of old. You know, you can't have guys hitting him, you know, all over the place, getting sacks on him. And I mean, during practice they had to gotten together, you know, had a offensive line meeting and been like, look, you know, we have in numbers probably at the time, you know, the best defense coming at us. You know, they have ridiculous pass rushers. We cannot let Peyton Manning get hit. And the Chiefs didn't touch him once.
They didn't, and for a team that has that many sacks, like they're leading the league in sacks. And Tom Bahali couldn't get past their rookie right tackle. I don't think that's really an excuse for the Chiefs because that's what elite players, that's what they do. Like, obviously they have Orlando Franklin back, but Clark, it was their left tackle, not right tackle, mm-hmm. But they couldn't get past him. And the Colts proved that the only way you're going to beat the Broncos is if you can get to the quarterback, which they couldn't do. They weren't putting pressure. And Peyton Manning just had all the time that he needed to get the ball out to however many great targets he has.
Yeah, and it's interesting to compare the Chiefs' defense to the Carolina Panthers' defense that we talked about earlier. Because like I said before, they were able to get to Tom Brady. They were able to make some plays in the backfield. The Chiefs, no way. They weren't getting past the offensive line at all. And so like I said, it is a big testament to their offensive line. You know, it's huge that they were the Broncos' offensive line. It's important that they were able to stop him and keep Peyton Manning on his feet. While at the same time, you got to, you know, as a defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, you got to realize, hey, what did we do wrong here? You know, I don't know if maybe they didn't disguise their, you know, blitzes correctly. Maybe they didn't blitz enough. You know, what they should have realized at the beginning of the game, and they probably did, was they needed to get to Peyton Manning. That's like that should have been their defense's goal at the beginning of the game, was get to Peyton Manning, knock him down, and just try to injure those ankles maybe. Make him try to make quick passes, not be able to lean on his one of his ankles.
Mm.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chase.
I feel like this was the Chiefs games that the Chiefs lost. I don't think the Broncos did anything spectacular. I don't think the Broncos came out and played amazing and were doing anything like different than what they usually do. Granted, what they usually do is what most teams can't do on their best day. But the Chiefs just, like, their offense couldn't get anything done, and then they couldn't get any pass rush on Manning. And for them to only put up 27 points is, I think, the big for the Chiefs secondary. Granted, I know Flowers was just wrecking Welker. He was in his face, throwing him to the ground after every play. That's part of the reason why Welker probably has a concussion. It was probably multiple things that happened. But I feel like the Chiefs just sort of gave this one away. Granted, I don't know. I probably disagree with Coleman. I don't know about you. I still could see the Chiefs winning in this second game 2 weeks from now. I just feel like if their pass rush happens a click once, and maybe they score an extra touchdown, or hell, their defense gets a pick.
I don't think that the Broncos are going to beat I don't think the Chiefs are going to beat the Broncos again, even though they will be home. Because you look at the score was 27-17. It probably could have been even more with the last two drives that the Broncos had. They were just trying to run out the clock and end the game, which they did effectively. And I think this team is just too good, and I don't think the Chiefs on the offensive side, like you brought up, have what it takes to beat the Broncos.
I feel like they do. I feel like if they go back to Arrowhead, I feel like they have the chance to beat the Broncos. But in practice that week, the Chiefs need to realize that they need to make a big play happen. Like I said, they need to gain momentum. They need to make a play that will get them momentum of the game, and for them to be able to rally around something to be able to just win this game. But like you said, in this past game, they didn't have any big plays, and the Broncos were just kind of breezing their way through.
All right, well, before we talk about the Broncos and Chiefs' second matchup, they still have to go to New England and get that win. We'll have that later on in the show, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Gaining weight was easy. Losing it's a lot harder. I have to work at it every day. But with every step, I lower my risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And that makes it
Morning, Daddy!
very much worth the effort.
Learn how you can help stop diabetes by losing weight, eating healthy, and staying active. Visit checkupamerica.org or call 1-800-DIABETES. A message from the American Diabetes Association.
Creating a world with less cancer is a team effort. It takes survivors, caregivers, and a community to join together. Fairfield University will unite for one night, April 12, 2013, to celebrate survivors, remember those who we've lost, and fight cancer. How can you get involved? Sign up a team at www.relayforlife.org/FairfieldU and get your friends to join. This year, more than 4 million people will participate in Relay for Life, making it the biggest fundraiser in the world. Don't you want to be a part of the movement? For more information, follow us on Twitter at RFL FairfieldU and like us on Facebook.
There's no place like home.
Getting home safely is just a click away. Find the right seat for your little one's age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat for more information. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back. Fairfield University's The Lounge, and it's come time in that part of the show where we get to talk about the Eagles and Redskins. And how about those Eagles, boys? What a win for them, or what a loss for the Redskins. Let's hear it, Chase. What do you have to say about my Eagles?
As I said last show, it was a bad. I apologize.
That's right, you apologize.
For saying the Redskins were going to win that game. They came out awful, and the Eagles beat them because they were the better team. The Redskins, I just don't get it. They if you look at the stats from their games, they just end up not playing that bad.
They actually had
overall.
They had better stats than the Eagles for a lot of them. I'll pull them up while you continue talking. But
well, I got them here.
Okay,
if you look at,
rattle them out.
You look at Morris. He had 22 carries for 93 yards. RG3, he used 17 for 35. Granted, it wasn't his best game. 2 touchdowns, interception. But like total yards, Washington had 427, while the Eagles only had 403. Like, Garcon didn't have a bad game at six catches, 68 yards. He was injured for part of the first drive. This Redskins team just can't win. They couldn't score in the first half, and I feel like if they had just put up something, this game would have turned out different. You look, they only lost by 8.
Well, yeah, they didn't score to the fourth quarter. And if you don't put up any points till the fourth quarter, then, it's going to be, unless it's a 0-0 game, it's going to be hard for you to win that game. It seems like every game, it seems like the Redskins go into halftime down or some ridiculous number, and then they try to come back. I think it's important for the Redskins in their next couple of games, if they want to try to make a little something out of this season, they need to score early, and they need to make the first couple drives important. They need to come out firing. They need to realize, hey, if we score in the first quarter, maybe we'll be in the game at the end. But it just seems like they come out kind of lackadaisical, they throw it around, and then they get to the fourth quarter, and RG3 is like, oh, wait, we got to win this game now.
Yeah, it wasn't until the Vikings game that they had before this that they scored their first half touchdown this season. Their first half offense has been awful. Every game, it's not until the second half where they actually start showing something.
Well, even though the Redskins' offense was bad and picked up the second quarter, it was also the Eagles' defense that slacked off, and they've done this before. They did this week 1 against the Redskins. They went up, I think, maybe 27-3 or 27-0, and then the Redskins made a game out of it. The Redskins scored on 2 blown coverages by the Eagles. There was that one where somehow RG3 fit the ball in between 2 Eagles defenders, and then they collided, and that was an easy touchdown. And then another one where it was underthrown, and the Eagles defender, I don't know who it was, maybe Nate Allen on the safety, allowed him to come back and just basically pick it up off the ground and just make the touchdown. But they have to be better, and they have to know that every game is not over till the end. But I was glad to see Brandon Boykin, who's been a huge addition to the Eagles team, leading the team in interceptions, make that last one at the end. And I was waiting for him to come out because he started off very good in the season, and he's been slacking a little bit, but that was great. But so this Eagles team now, I think this was huge for them. I saw something where someone said that NFL should stand for Nick Foles League, not the National Football League, because he's just playing very, very well. Didn't throw any passing touchdowns, but had a rushing touchdown and drove the ball down to the 1-yard line and allowed McCoy to punch it in twice. So even though his stats might not have been what it was for the past 2 weeks, he played very, very well.
Yeah, I was surprised. The Redskins, their defense, the one thing that they have done good is creating turnovers or picks. And Foles didn't throw any. Granted, D'Angelo Hall, yes, the one on the Redskins, not the supposed one that was on the Chiefs.
Yes, my bad.
Was inactive this game. I was surprised. I think it was because of an injury because he's been playing. He's actually had a pretty good year this year as opposed to most of his other years, which he's been said is a top flight corner, which he hasn't been. But this year he's actually been playing pretty decent and has had picks, and I think that definitely hurt the Redskins team. I feel awful because the Redskins have been bad on all fronts except for their rushing, which they're first in the NFL, 155 rushing yards a game averaging. Like, Morris has been playing out of his mind. He's been playing better than he has last year. But the fact that their offense can't get anything done in passing, they're not open, and they're just allowing defenses to stack more guys up in the box, have 7-8 guys. It's hard for Morris to rush as well as he has. But again, he might not have had 100 yards, but 93 yards against a team that couldn't get anything done with a team that couldn't get anything else done on offense. I feel bad because I know if he was on any other team, he'd be doing great.
Well, this was RG3's day to prove that he was still fine and could lead this Redskins team because the Eagles are 31st in the league in giving up passing yards, and they're even 22nd in the league in rushing yards. So I understand why Alfred Morris went off, but I don't understand why RG3 didn't go off. And again, with the Eagles, this defense needs to get better if they want to make this run in this very tight NFC East that we're seeing right now.
But, yeah, they need to get better, but, they got 2 turnovers in this game. And the Eagles are winning games the right way. They're not turning the ball over. And I just quickly looked at all the games from this past week. Every team that won in the turnover stat except for the Saints. They had a rough game, but
rough game, only 26.
Yeah, well, okay. But the Eagles the Eagles just aren't turning over the ball. Nick Foles, I mean, he's got the crazy 16 touchdowns without an interception.
Yeah, he's close to Peyton Manning's record, which is 20.
Which is 20, right.
This is the start of season. I know I was telling people some people this, and they said there's no way that's true, but it's just the start of season, and that Nick Foles hasn't been the starter all along, and so that's why he still hasn't thrown an interception this season. That's very, very impressive.
It's very impressive. And then, I mean, McCoy's not really turning it over that much. No one's really turning over the ball for them on offense. It's really incredible to see. And that's going to win you games.
And that's what surprised me. They don't have Macklin, who was the best hands on the team. They're doing this all with Jackson, Cooper, Avant. I'm shocked because I know when I came into this year, I thought Eagles were going to be the bottom of the NFC East. It was going I didn't see it any other way, and they've really impressed me the past few weeks.
I didn't see one preview of the NFL season, whether it was Sports Illustrated, ESPN.com, NFL.com, that didn't have the Eagles in last place, and that shocked me because this is a new team, it's a new coach, it's the same players, but it's a new style of play, and that's what matters.
I know, and now I got to go up to Thanksgiving. I'm spending in Philly with my cousins. I know I talked to my one cousin, Gary, saying there's no way the Eagles are going to do anything this year. I said maybe the year after, but no, I was talking all this trash to him. And my grandfather, he's been talking all this trash because the Skins haven't been doing good and the Eagles have been doing great. I just need to make a shout-out to them and acknowledge that the Eagles have been doing good. And I'm not really looking forward to Thanksgiving because you guys are going to have a great 2 days while I'm up there just trashing me.
How about Riley Cooper, though? Sorry, Connor. I just want to bring this up. Now that Nick Foles is throwing to him, we all know what happened in the beginning of the year. I don't want to get into it. I don't believe in it. But it did happen, and it was a problem with Vic. But now that Foles is throwing to him, he now has the same amount of touchdowns as Deshaun Jackson. And when you think of those two names, Jackson and Cooper, you don't put them in the same category. Jackson's a top 10 receiver, Pro Bowler. Cooper's a no-name guy if you're not an Eagles fan, and he's starting to come up, and he's a great aspect to this team while Macklin's on the bench right now with an injury.
Yeah, I sure didn't see that coming. I mean, he was kind of a no-name guy, so I didn't really know, what his hands were like, how, if he was a route runner, if he was a deep guy. But he's making plays happen. Foles is giving him the ball, and he's putting trust into Cooper's hands, and Cooper's it's making it happen.
Yeah, Cooper surprised me. I still feel like Jackson's definitely better overall. You look at
he is. It's just the season they're having right now.
Yeah, but Cooper has stepped up as a number 2, which the team has needed. He might have stepped up a little late, but in the past few games, especially with Foles, it looks like they've just been connecting very well.
Well, they're in first place right now, so it's not too late for anything. But we run out of time on this game. We could talk forever about our teams, but we have to move on. How about the Lions and Steelers, guys? Now, this gets into the interesting part of the show, where we now have 8 teams, 9 if you count the Bills, who are a game and a half out, all either tied or 1 game out of that 5 of the Jets, who are now 5-5 for that 6th spot in the AFC. And the Steelers are one of these teams, and they just played very good. Ben Roethlisberger was the AFC Player of the Week, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Lions got all their points in 1 quarter, and this was a good Lions team that we all picked to win the NFC North, and I don't know, maybe things are different now, but it's definitely different for the Steelers team.
Yeah, I mean, I want to start off, Ben Roethlisberger absolutely killed me in fantasy this week because I was playing him. But the Steelers, after the first couple games, it seemed like they were never going to get their act together. They seemed pretty ugly. Same with like the Giants and whatnot. But
look, the last few weeks, Roethlisberger said he wants to be traded because he was so disappointed with the team.
Well, did Roethlisberger say that? No, Roethlisberger said that he wanted to stay. He said the rumors were false. Oh. He came out saying that they were false. He said he doesn't know what Mr. Rooney thinks. But
there shouldn't have been rumors anyway.
Right. And then I think this, to be honest, I think this is Roethlisberger saying, you know what? Screw these rumors. I'm sick of this happening. I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to make this a football team again. And he came out, like you said, 367 yards and 4 touchdowns. He made that statement. He came out against a pretty good, a pretty good Lions team. And he just said, I'm going to take this game over for myself, and I'm going to get us this win.
Well, I like this Steelers team to make a run for this last spot, because if you look at the schedule against this team compared to all the other teams that are vying for this spot, and they have a pretty easy one. They have to play some divisional opponents in Cleveland, Baltimore, but then they're playing a banged-up Packers team and the Miami Dolphins. And so now they're playing all these teams that are below 500, and if they want to make this run for this playoff spot, then this is their time to do it.
Yeah, I could see the Steelers doing that. The thing is, the whole AFC, it's just such a mess with that last wild card spot. There's so many teams looking for it.
I don't want to say it, but I'm thinking it's going to be an 8-8 team that gets in. And I don't like that, but that's shaping up how it's going to be.
I know. You just look at like the teams that's in the lead right now is the Jets, and it looks like they're going to go 8-8. They win one week, they lose the next week, and that's exactly how it's been. They beat the Saints, and then they lose to the Bills. They get destroyed by the Bills. It wasn't even close. But I think if you look on the other side, not just with the Steelers, the Lions, this is a team that we all thought that, look, they're taking control of the NFC North. Granted, I thought they needed a win by a big win when they beat the Bears, even though it was close. But they lose to the Steelers. I don't know what to think now. You look at the NFC North, the Lions are 6-4, the Bears are 6-4, and the Packers are 5-5.
Well, let's go to that game. The Bears and Ravens, a very weird game, delayed for about 2 hours because of tornado warnings and lightning. But they come out with a win, and the Ravens lost them in overtime. Two things going on here. You have the Ravens, who are also competing for that spot with the Steelers and 7 other teams for that last spot in the AFC. And you have the Bears, who are now competing with the Lions for the NFC North. And I think Josh McCown, in my opinion, is not. I don't know what I'm saying. He should be the starter for this Bears team. I think he's playing better than Cutler. He's got them back-to-back wins now that he's started in. And this Bears team, I think, can make a run with him. I don't think Jay Cutler is the answer right now. I think you got to give this guy a chance. And the Bears have the weapons surrounding him to make it happen.
I don't necessarily know if I put McCown over him. I do need to credit him. He's been playing great. He's looked confident in what he's doing. He looks like a starter when he's out there, like in terms of his personality. But I don't think his stats would match up to Cutler. He's had good games enough to allow the team to win and put them in position, but he's not going out there and winning the games for him. I'm not going to say that. I think he went 19 for 31, 216 yards, a touchdown.
No interceptions.
No interceptions, yes.
He's got 5 touchdowns and no interceptions so far.
Exactly, but I don't think that he's a guy who you can put in and fill in for Cutler, and he's going to do a good job, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that goes out there and wins a game. He's not going to give it away.
I'm just saying give him the chance. Let him play until he messes up.
I agree. I say McCown should keep the starting role right now. Cutler hasn't proved too much. I mean, Cutler should be, if he's going to be the starter, his numbers should be a ton better than McCown's number. Like he should make a reason why he's the starter, and he's not doing it. He's not separating himself from McCown. McCown is staying with Cutler's numbers. So, to be honest, I think McCown should be the starter. I think if he wants to bring this team, as far as he can, I think he needs to start utilizing Marshall a little more. When you have a receiver as good as Marshall and as big as Marshall, I think you need to throw it up to him a little more. He's not really throwing to him. Last game Marshall had 4 receptions for 42 yards. He needs to throw the ball up to him a little more than he does.
He needs to throw it up to him a little more, but I feel like Cutler's more of a dynamic passer, someone you actually need to watch out for. He's sort of like a Brett Favre. He's gonna throw some interception, but he's also going to throw some big time plays, which I don't really see with McCown. It's just, you could say it's a more conservative option, but I feel like if this Bears team really wants to compete outside of the NFC North, they're going to need someone like Cutler, or at least take the risk with Cutler to win those games.
Well, maybe they don't need to compete outside the NFC North. Maybe it's going to be them that take it. For me, it's still the Lions, though. They have Calvin Johnson, which is just huge for me. The Bears have nothing like that. And I think Stafford is better than Cutler or McCown. Both with the same record, both 6-4. What do you guys think? Who's going to take that one? Do the Packers somehow come back? They've now lost 3 in a row, but Aaron Rodgers on the verge of returning.
I'm not sure about the Packers coming in, but if it's between the Bears and the Lions, Reggie Bush needs to play better. In the last game, I don't know what his stats were, but they were ugly. They were not good at all. And if the Lions are going to look to beat out the Bears in this division, I mean, yes, they have Calvin Johnson. Yes, they have Matthew Stafford. But their big guy, their big explosive player who's supposed to be all over the field, catching balls, running balls, getting touchdowns, he's just not doing it. Reggie Bush needs to be able to put a little bit of this team on his back.
To clarify, Bush had 12 carries for 31 yards.
Yeah, that can't happen at all.
No, Bell had more. He had 9 carries for 49. It's just, again, this team's gonna win and fall with Bush, depending on how he does, because he's what makes that offense dynamic. Without him, they don't have a running game. All you need to do, I know it's easy to say, but just cover Calvin Johnson, shut him down, put 3 corners on him if you have to, and this team isn't going to go anywhere.
All right, well, we'll head to our second commercial break, and we'll be back to preview next week's games, which started off looking like there weren't going to be that many great ones. But after this week, there's actually a lot of matchups that could indicate who's going to step up in the AFC for that last spot. And there's a lot of matchups between above 500 teams, which could show a lot also. We'll be back in a few.
When you're 15 and pregnant, all the stuff just goes through your mind. You're his mom. You're supposed to be the one taking care of him and raising him, but you can't do it without support. I wanted to give him a better life. When I found out I was pregnant, I don't know, just a light hit me in my heart, just saying adoption.
For more information, go to ichooseadoption.org.
I'm Miranda, and I chose adoption.
More than 23 million of our children and adolescents are overweight or obese, putting them at a higher risk for serious health problems. I'm Connecticut State Representative Deborah Lee Hovey. September is Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. Women in Government, an organization of women state legislators, is working to promote policies that make it easier for children and families to eat healthy. To learn more, visit womeningovernment.org.
Podría ser la alarma de la puerta, o las nuevas cubiertas para desagües, la cerca de la piscina, incluso las lecciones de natación. Pero nunca se sabe qué medida de seguridad salvará una vida, hasta que la salva. Agregar diversas medidas de seguridad puede marcar la diferencia entre salvar de un peligro o llamar al 911. Pasos simples salvan vidas. Visite pulsafely.gov. Un mensaje de servicio público de la CPSC, la YMCA y la Cruz Roja Americana. Podría ser la alarma de la puerta o la...
Gaining weight was easy. Losing it's a lot harder. I have to work at it every day. But with every step, I lower my risk for type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And that makes it...
Morning, Daddy!
...very much worth the effort.
Learn how you can help stop diabetes by losing weight, eating healthy, and staying active. Visit checkupamerica.org or call 1-800-DIABETES. A message from the American Diabetes Association.
All right, we're back with our second half of the show where we will be previewing, and we'll start with some of the lesser games that are still important because of how the AFC is shaping out. Let's start first with the Steelers and Browns divisional matchup, both 4-6. Steelers coming off a win against a good team, Browns coming off a loss against a good team in the Bengals. Who do you guys got in this one? I think it's the Steelers. I think if the Steelers win, it will knock the Browns out of this race. They'll be 4-7, and that's just too much to overcome by. They don't have any superstars that can get them the wins they need. It's going to be the Steelers for me, and it'll put the Steelers in the race for that last spot.
I think it's the Steelers too. They're making another run. It seems like they do every year. I don't know. They always find a way to make it to the playoffs. And I feel like, except for last year, right? I don't know. It always seems like they're in it, but they're making another run. They've won. I don't know. Have they won a couple in a row? I think they've strung a few in a row. I think so.
They did get blown out by the Patriots, but they.
Oh, right. But I
think they beat the Ravens and have now beaten the Lions.
Right. So they're picking up their game. I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to have another huge game against the Browns, even though their defense is playing pretty well right now against the pass anyways. But I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to pick up his game. Le'Veon Bell, he's all right. He hasn't been anything spectacular this year.
He's been average.
Right, but I see the Steelers winning this game. I just don't see I don't see the Steelers, letting this slip out of their hands.
Just to clarify, they beat the Bills 2 weeks ago, not the Ravens.
Like I could see either team winning. I'd have to lean with the Steelers, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if the Browns won, because the Browns will pull off an upset here or there. And I know this isn't a huge upset, but it's a game that they could win. I don't really know what to think of either team, because the Browns have been up and down. The Steelers started off really bad, and the past few weeks they've looked pretty good. And I'm leaning with the Steelers because of that. But it could really go either way.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's tough to think of either of these teams making a playoff run, because both teams are 4-6 right now. And when's the last time that we've talked about a 4-6 team looking at making the playoffs? It's a little weird, being able to go with a 4-6 team and be, hey, I'm confident in them making the playoffs right now. I feel like they're going to make the run and they're going to get that last spot. It's hard.
Well, it's also a lot easier to say you're more confident with the Steelers because of the history of them. In our lifetime, we've seen them win 3 Super Bowls with the same coach and the same quarterback. And the Browns we've seen have an under 500 record about every year. So it's a lot easier to say, yeah, it's the Steelers. But you just have to be careful when it comes to those things and look at everything in terms of this season. But how about another game in the AFC? The Titans and the Raiders, both 4-6, same situation, both teams going for it. For me, the Raiders are already done. They're in the division with the Broncos and Chiefs. They still have to play them at least one more time. The Titans are in a little easier division, and we've seen them have some pretty good wins this year. And I say the Titans will win this game, and they definitely have a better chance of making that spot than the Raiders do.
I agree. I see the Titans winning this game over the Raiders, but I think the Titans have a better chance of making the playoffs, but I don't see either of these two teams making the playoffs at all.
How about with the Steelers? Who would you put over, Titans or Steelers?
Steelers. Yeah.
I'd probably say Steelers. If Titans had Locker back, I'd say definitely. But you look at this Titans-Raiders game, they're both not the quarterbacks who are meant to start. Terrell Pryor is out, so Matt McGloin, the perennial walk-on. I gotta like this guy. Yeah. I gotta like it. How could you not root for this guy? He walked on to Penn State, did very well with Bill O'Brien. You would know who he is, Connor, the old Pats OC. And now he beat Houston Texans in his first start in the NFL as an undrafted free agent as well. So I guess I'd put the Titans above Fitzmagic, as a lot of people like to call him, that Harvard grad, and I think has a lot in him. But I think there's a lot more talent to the Titans team with Chris Johnson as well.
It's tough for the Titans because they play the Colts and the Broncos after this week with the Raiders. So I'm also going to put the Steelers above the Titans. How about Ravens and Jets? Now, these two teams are my front runners for that last spot. I have the Jets still at number 1, and then the Ravens at number 2. I like how the Ravens play. They barely lost to the Bears. It was a weird game with the delay. I think that the Ravens are going to pull this one out. We joke here that the Jets lose one and win one, lose one, and this should be their week to win one. But Geno Smith just looked too bad. 4 interceptions. I don't trust the Jets. I don't know how it's going to be with Ed Reed going back to Baltimore. But it's got to be the Ravens for me.
I see the Ravens winning this too. I actually see Joe Flacco kind of having a big game here, attacking Cromartie, who's been blown out a good amount of times this year. He's been, they've been throwing over the top of him, and he can't keep up anymore. I don't maybe he's just getting too old, but he can't keep up with any of the quick receivers anymore. And it's just, I don't know, the Jets, Geno Smith is kind of showing the NFL that all the analysts at the beginning of the season may have been right, that he wasn't ready for the season. He wasn't necessarily ready to be an NFL quarterback.
Well, they've had some huge wins, so don't count them out yet. I think they're a very good option to pick for that last spot for just this week. I think it's going to be the Ravens. Don't look for Ray Rice to go anywhere this week. It's not going to be his week. The Jets are number 1 in the league in defensive rushing yards allowed, so look for him to not be a factor in this.
I want to say the Jets lose this game, and every single thing points to it. Everything. And again, I think Geno's sort of already proven that he's not he's what everyone thought he was. He hasn't had any very good games. But at the same time, whenever I want to say that about the Jets, they end up winning. Right when you think they're going to lose, they go up against the Saints, they win that. They go up against the Pats, they win that. I'm just going to follow the patterns. I'm going to say Jets win this. I don't have any real reason to say that other than patterns. But right when I think they're going to lose, they end up winning. I don't know how, but they manage winning a game. Maybe the Ravens just play bad because they're up and down this year and they have one of their bad games. But I think the Jets are going to win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're like a lottery ticket. The Jets, one week they're going to win because they're playing ridiculous football. The next week they look like they're going to play in peewee football. And as a Patriots fan, this kind of makes me roll my eyes a little bit because they're coming around, they play in 1 week, they'll dominate a team, and then the next week they come in, and it doesn't even look like they know how to play football. It's crazy. So, I mean, yeah, I can see how the trends, you would pick the Jets over the Ravens, but I just don't see how, I don't know. In my mind, I don't see how the Jets are going to win this game.
Well, let's head to a game that is a little bit more interesting. The 6-4 Cardinals against the 7-3 Colts. This Cardinals team is kind of a sleeper right now. They're tied record-wise with the 49ers for that last spot in the NFC for the playoffs, and the Colts have been pretty unpredictable this year. What do you guys think about this one? I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cardinals upset the Colts here. I don't think it's going to happen, but what do you guys think?
The Colts, they've been up and down, and as I've said from the start of this show, the Colts are going to have losses to teams that they should beat, just like they lost to the Rams earlier. I could see the Cardinals pulling this out. Do I think they will? No, I think the Colts are too good of a team. There's a reason why they beat the Broncos, and it was because they played better, and they have the highest ceiling of any team in the NFL as well. But I feel like the Colts will come out. They've had a few bad games recently, so I think they're in due for some good games now. I think they're going to come out and win this. I have to give a lot of credit to Bruce Arians, who the Colts have to love in the first place because he led them the majority of last season, and he's done a great job with the Cardinals. Like most people, when you hear the Cardinals are 6-4, people are surprised.
Well, if you compare the two quarterbacks of the team, Carson Palmer and Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer is actually having a slightly better season than Luck. He's got the same amount of touchdowns in 14. Palmer has 150 yards more, and he has a higher completion percentage. And what I also like about the Cardinals is they have a big-name guy in Larry Fitzgerald. The Colts' big-name guy, Reggie Wayne, is out for the year, and we've seen in these last few weeks it's been effective. It's been affecting them. I don't know if the Cardinals' defense can match up with the Colts' offense, and I think that the Colts' defense can. But this Arizona team isn't that bad, and as I said before, would not be surprised if they beat the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say Arizona's going to put up a good game, and it should be a pretty good game. But you think, oh, hey, Arizona's on a hot streak, right? You know, they've won 3 in a row, but they beat Atlanta, Houston, and Jacksonville. I mean, they've won 3 in a row, but those 3 teams are nothing special. You know, they by winning those games, they proved absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah, let's move on to the next game. We'll go head over to the NFC East. Another NFC East matchup, as Coleman said. Dallas versus the New York Giants. The New York Giants have won 4 in a row. Looks like they could be coming back. Dallas hasn't been doing too hot. They're coming off their bye week though, so maybe they're getting over that.
Well, you know, this Giants team scares me. And as an Eagles fan, I'm rooting for the Cowboys this week. As strange as that sounds, everyone hates the Cowboys. The Eagles are a half-game lead over the Cowboys in first place. I'm afraid of this Giants team, and I'm afraid of what will happen if the Giants beat the Cowboys. As Chase said, they've won 4 in a row. We know what happens when they get hot. That's how they've won 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning is a veteran quarterback, and the Giants still have weapons on that team. And Jason Pierre-Paul won the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, and he had a great game, a great interception by the Packers. And even though it was a banged-up Packers team, the Giants still beat them, and it was pretty decisive too. The defense picked off Scott Tolzien 3 times. This is a scary team for me.
Oh, I mean, it's a scary team for you as the Eagles, and I'm sitting over here, you know, on the AFC East on the other side of the league, and I'm afraid of them. You know, they've won 4 in a row. This is when the classic Giants come out. You know, they make the playoffs, they make a huge Super Bowl run, all this crazy stuff, and they beat the Patriots and all this left and right. But they're turning it around. You know, they're playing good football.
Well, I wouldn't call them classic because a classic Giants usually go 6-2, blow it out, and then maybe have 1 or 2 games going into the playoffs where they heat up. This is a team I've never seen before. They start off 0-6. They just looked like they were awful. They weren't playing well on any scale. And now they come in, they win 4 in a row. They're looking like a good team. Granted, I still think people might give them a little too much hype. I feel like they had some big games, some big wins, some big games, but like they beat the Packers, but it's Packers with Tolzien. There's a few exceptions to their wins.
Their 4 wins aren't against the top teams in the league, but it doesn't matter for me because this is still a good team.
They're making a run. That's what I meant by classic Giants. They always sometime during the season they make some type of little spurt that puts them into the the playoff race.
And their schedule down the line isn't that tough. They have to play the Redskins twice. Sorry, Chase, but that's not a tough game for me. They're playing the San Diego Chargers. They do have to play the Seahawks, which I think is a loss already. I don't know.
And Detroit.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an easy schedule, even if you consider the Skins easy, when I don't blame you. But San Diego's not a bad team. Neither is Detroit. And Seattle's, I've seen people put them at number 1.
It's not easy, but it's easier than what the Eagles and Cowboys have to finish out the season with. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I don't know. I'd say the Eagles have a tougher schedule overall left.
All right. Well, just for me, because they have to play the Bears and the Lions, and they still have to play the Cowboys at the end of the season. Maybe it's not easier, but for me, the Giants, I think, are going to take this one from the Cowboys, and I don't want it to happen, but it's for me. I think the Giants will win their 5th in a row.
I think Dallas is going to win this. And I think a lot of people are going to be saying, what are you, crazy? Giants have won 4 in a row. But I think Dallas is coming off their bye. Romo's going to come out strong. He's going to have a good game. He's going to show the Giants why they went 0-6 to start off the year and why they're not just going to come back like they have before. And I think Dallas is going to pull out this win, and it's going to mean a lot for Romo. It's going to put them back in the race. It's going to make it a race between the Eagles and the Cowboys again.
All right, well, we'll end now with the big game of the week, what we're all excited for and looking forward to. The Patriots against the Broncos, and a lot of people are saying that the Broncos, there's no way they're going to win 3 in a row. I already said that they were going to beat the Chiefs twice, and I think that they beat the Patriots here in Gillette. I think it'll be shootout. It always is with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I'm curious to hear what you have to say, Connor, as a Patriots fan. Can this defense handle Peyton Manning and the offensive weapons they have?
No. To be quite honest, I don't think they can. We've lost some key defensive guys, especially Vince Wilfork. He's always been one that's been able to kind of contain any Peyton Manning offense. I know he's on the line and he's the middle guy, but he's always found a way to make something happen. And without him, I don't even see the Patriots defense doing much at all. Aqib Talib, he's a great cornerback, but he's injury prone right now. There's 2 other. Denard, he hurt his thumb or something. I don't know. He's injured too, so he's not going to be 100%. And I think this Patriots team, not only do they need to be 100% on defense health-wise, but their offense also has to be firing on all cylinders, which they're not. If Brady's bringing the ball down the field, which he kind of is right now, he hasn't even been 100% this year. But if he's kind of bringing it down the field and then Ridley just kind of throws it over to the other team, fumbling left and right now, then I just don't see the Patriots winning this game. Yes, we have Vereen back. Now we've had Gronk back for a couple of games. But it's just, if Ridley can't, be a more effective rusher and not fumble the ball, then I don't see the, Patriots really even making this much of a game.
Yeah, I have to put the Broncos above mostly because of injuries. You just look, they lost Mayo and Wilfork, the Patriots. And those are, if you're going to stop Peyton Manning, as it's been showed before by the Colts, you need to get to Peyton Manning. And those are 2 guys who do it. And without that, the Broncos' offensive line is playing great. They have too many weapons for even if Talib's in for him to cover, for him alone to cover. And the Broncos' defense played pretty well. Granted, it wasn't against a very high-powered offense with the Kansas City Chiefs recently, but they kept them to 17 points.
Well, this is kind of a different matchup now with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Peyton has 20 more touchdowns than Brady, 1,000 more yards. The Patriots' top receiver has 4 touchdowns. The Broncos have 3 receivers with 9, and one of those guys has 10. So this is not what we're used to seeing but it's still going to be a classic battle between the two. I don't think there's much of a chance of the Patriots winning this one. I would be surprised if they do. The Broncos are just too hot right now. They're coming off a huge win, and the Pats are coming off a bad loss.
Can I get an apology if the Patriots do win?
Yes, you can get an apology if the Patriots win. I am confident that they will not win, and I will give you that.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a good game, and if there's one team that'll win a game when you least expect them to, it's the Patriots, because whenever you expect them to do bad, they end up winning. Well, I think that's it for our show. We've had a pretty good show. We will not be on next week. We'll be gone for Thanksgiving break, but we will be on for Week 14.
Yes, we'll miss you guys, but we'll be back. You're going to have the week off away from us. Some good games next week, and some good games in 2 weeks, too. Just want to give a quick shout-out to my girlfriend. She was pretty upset when the Pats lost on that call. I told her it's just how the game goes. She didn't believe me. She wanted to get that out there, that she was upset. You guys have anything before we leave?
I just want to say thank you again, guys. I love being on the show.
Yeah, anytime.
Great, definitely. We'll have you on again.
All right, thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks.